Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another product review. And today's product that we're going to be taking a look at, unboxing and trying out, is a red dot sight from OSight, which essentially is the optics version of Olight. Now, I have reviewed their original OSight in the past, and I have been very impressed with it. I was so impressed with it that I've kept it on my Walther PDP, and I use it all the time. But they contacted me recently because they had a couple of new releases for the 2025 SHOT Show. And this is one of them. This one is called the OSight X. It's supposed to have multiple reticles, and it's my understanding they also upgraded the internal electronics to make it more efficient. So we're going to go ahead and unbox this, see what we get, and then we're going to mount it to my Walther PDP, take it to the range, see how it works, see if I discover anything that I like or don't like about it. We'll come back here to the garage, talk about it, and I'll give you guys my final thoughts. So let me go ahead and adjust the camera, and let's see what we got with the OSight X. So here's the box the OSight X comes in. I'm always impressed with Olight or OSight's packaging. It always looks really good. So let's go ahead and open this up and see what we get. It looks like we have all of our accessories and mounting hardware over here. And I'm assuming this is going to be the sight itself. So let's go ahead and open that up first. We have our cap, which is going to act as the charger. We have the sight itself. And then let's go ahead and see what accessories we get here. They come in these individual boxes. So it looks like we have the mounting hardware, and this is going to be the charging cable and the tools required. And then of course we have all of the information about the sight. So we'll take a look at all that in just a moment. But let's take a closer look at the OSight X. Now this looks very similar in design and size to the original. So here is the original that I have on my Walther PDP. And here is the new OSight X. It uses a standard footprint for this. So let's see, it looks like the top is the same when it comes to the charging. Everything on it looks really, really good. I know it has a sealed battery. The window is very big, and that's one of the things I absolutely love about these OSight optics. But they seem to be pretty darn durable, and I haven't heard of anybody really having any problems with them. It also looks like the controls are exactly the same. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is mount it to this Walther PDP. We'll open all these accessories, and I will learn how to use it through the owner's manual. So let me go ahead and do that now. And like the original OSight, this is a feature-packed optic. So depending on how you want to run it, you're going to have plenty of options. Now personally, I like to run my optics manually, meaning I want a button to turn it off, a button to turn it on, and I also want to be able to adjust the brightness to the desired level by just pushing some buttons. Some people like to have all of that automated, and you can do that with this sight. So it's very important that you keep the user manual and not discard this, because all of those various button pushes are going to be right here. It gives you all of that information because all of the controls are done through these two buttons right here. It might be a little bit tricky to figure that out without this on hand. So as I mentioned, you have a number of different modes, and right now it is set to manual mode. So I can push a button, turn it on and turn it off, but through a series of button pushes, I can have the shake awake feature enabled. So if the pistol was not moved for a while, it was on a table or in your safe, the optic would turn off. When you pick it up, the motion sensor detects that and would turn the optic on. You also have a light sensor on the front. So if you don't like to push the buttons to the desired brightness level, you can have it auto adjusted to the room that you're in. Now, I personally don't like that because typically I like to run my red dots a little bit brighter than those automated settings, but some people I think are going to absolutely love that. You also have 3 reticle choices. You have a simple dot, you have a dot with a circle, which looks kind of like an EOTech reticle, and you also have a circle without the dot. So depending on your personal preferences, you can cycle between those. And I believe the dot right now is on. It's not going to focus. It's just the nature of how these cameras work, but it is very bright and it is very clear. We also have a battery function option here, so you can see how much it is charged. Right now I pushed a button down and you saw there was a green light. That tells me it is pretty much fully charged, but you also have the option of using the charging hood, which, by the way, you can tell how much the hood is charged by pushing the button on the side, and it looks like we're between 25 and 50% there. But when I put it on top of the optic, it will also light up telling you how much it is charged. So we do have that really cool charging feature. They also gave us all of these mounting screws, this bag, I'm assuming for the charger. We have the charging cable. We have a tool for the installation and adjustment. And this is not given with the optic, but you can buy this separately. This is a mount that was sent to me, so I can also run this optic on an AR-15. We will try that at the range as well. So that's what this optic is all about. So now it's time to get it to the range. And so the first thing I'm going to do is just put a magazine through this gun. It's going to be unzeroed at first, and we're going to test how easy this optic is to adjust and see what the best group I can get with it is before moving on to other things. So let's go to the range. And so having this OSight X mounted to my Walther PDP, I have to say I'm pretty impressed with the results. It didn't take long for me to get it zeroed. I really like the fact it has strong click adjustments. They're not oversensitive, and you can use the tool that is supplied. And I can also use this tool to mount the optic to the plate. And it was really, really easy. After my first shots, I'm not noticing any flickering, and the mount is staying solid. So far, so good. So now let's go back to the range. Let's double the distance of the target. Just make sure it continues to hold 0 and see if there's any other issues I'm experiencing with it. I just want to make sure if I double the distance of the target, I want to see what's going to happen to this group and to see if I'm going to get any point of impact shift. So let's go back to the range. And it doesn't appear to have any point of impact shift. The optic is working just fine, and the reticle is very clear. And I'm using the one that is the circle and the dot. But now I want to change things up. I normally like to use dots when it comes to red dot sights. However, this one has that unique reticle that's just a circle. So I'm going to change that up, and I'm going to put it under a little bit more stress. So essentially I'm going to do a mag dump with it. I continually want to test it to make sure it's not going to flicker and to make sure that this mount is going to remain solid. So once again, let's go back to the range. Let's put another magazine through this and a lot more rounds and just make sure it continues to function well. And as I would expect from any quality optic, we're not experiencing any flickering, the mount is staying solid, and it is holding zero. And this is exactly the same thing that I experienced with the previous generation of the OSight. So it's working great and as expected, but with the added bonus of being able to change the reticles. So the last test I want to do with this sight mounted to this pistol is to go back to the range and shoot a target at 25 yards. I'm going to change the reticle to just the dot and see what the best group I can get with it is. And as you can see, I'm getting a great group with this Walther PDP and this OSight X. I'm very impressed with it. It seems to be a great optic. Another thing that I really like about its design is that the window is so large and it gives you a very big field of view. The glass also seems to be very clear, and I'm not noticing any distortions in it. So now the next thing I want to do is take this sight off this pistol and move it to a rifle. I mentioned earlier that they did give me a mount for this, so I'm kind of curious how it's going to work on an AR-15. So let's go back to the range and find out. And as before, getting this thing on target and getting it zeroed was no problem whatsoever. I have to say, I'm very impressed with the ability of this to work on an AR. Normally when it comes to red dots, honestly, they're a little bit too small if you're just running them as your primary. Now, if they're a backup on top of a different scope, that's not really a big deal to me. But normally I'm not going to run a red dot this way. But because it has that larger field of view, I think it functions pretty darn well. I'm also very happy with the mount that they provided. It's absolutely the right height. They also offer a low mount as well. So now the next thing I want to do, since I have this zeroed, of course, is do a mag dump. Essentially put a bunch of rounds through it. Once again, test to make sure it's not going to flicker, that this mount is going to hold solid, and that it's going to continue to hold zero. So let's go back to the range, put some more rounds through this rifle, and just make sure this optic continues to work well. And I am happy with the results of all of these tests. I think this thing has worked great on a pistol and on a rifle. And I think I've gone over pretty much everything about it that I like, from the various modes to the multiple reticles to its build quality and the fact it has a large field of view. But I would be lying to you if I said it was a perfect optic, because I loved everything about it, because there's actually one thing about it that I don't like, and that is the fact that battery is not able to be removed. You are forced to use the charging hood. So this means if this battery goes out, you're not going to be able to find a replacement, and most likely you're going to have to send it in for service. But also, if this charging hood goes bad, well, you're not going to be able to use your optic for very long. So I kind of wish you were able to change that battery out or charge this directly using a cable. Either of those two would be a better option. Now, I have not heard of anybody having any problems with either of those, but I'm just trying to think of a long-term solution, especially if OSight develops more products or maybe even goes out of business in the far distant future. I would just want to be able to make sure I could continue to use this optic, and having that removable battery that I could replace, I think would be the ultimate upgrade to this. But everything else about this optic is absolutely perfect. So on my star system, how would I rate the OSight X? Well, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 stars. Honestly, it has exceeded my expectations. I already knew it was probably going to be a really nice sight. But I have to say, with those multiple reticles and now looking at the build quality of it, I'm very impressed. It has outperformed the expectations that I had for it. So I think it gets a perfect review. As I mentioned, the only thing I would like for them to change is to have a removable battery, but I don't know if they ever have any plans on that in the future. But also, at their price point, I don't think you can complain about all that you get. So let me know in the comments section below, what do you think of the OSight red dot optics? And what do you think of the new generation of them? Do you like the older generation that was more simple and just a dot? Or do you like the multiple reticles? Tell me in the comments section below. And as always, thanks for watching.